I think that the reason I started baiting pedophiles when I was 18 was because I was starting to get attention from predators online who think that I am a child because I look really young. And I knew that I couldn't really do anything about these adults because ultimately I was an adult myself. But if I could actually prove that these predators were looking for children, then I knew I could possibly get these creeps who are interested in me because I look like a kid arrested. So, for most of you who have been on my channel for a significant amount of time, you know I was very outspoken about my pedo catching on social media, and moving forward, I've said this in previous videos, but most people who view my content are not actually returning subscribers. I'm going to henceforth be referring to pedophiles as paddies because I don't want YouTube to age restrict this video. I want this video to reach as many people as possible, even though obviously my setup is not nice enough for the YouTube algorithm to get me. But whatever. So I used to be very proactive and honestly like pro online vigilantism. I have not been baiting paddies nonstop since I was 18, but on and off I would make these accounts and I would run these accounts for weeks to months at a time, chat with some people, report some people to the police, and then after it became too overwhelming, I would abandon my account. That would basically be the reason why I would abandon an account. It was just too much for me. I needed a break. And the initial reason I actually started baiting pedos was not to get people arrested. It was just to prove that unconventional social media sites like Pinterest and Quora were and are breeding grounds for online trafficking in a way. I think Quora is even worse than Pinterest. I actually saw Pinterest make a lot of changes a couple months after I made my video exposing Pinterest. But with Quora, it is still going on. It is alarming the amount of photos you can find of children as young as 13 posting suggestive photos of themselves to get attention because they're seeking validation. And it's alarming how quickly those photos will get replies and likes and people asking to DM them. So that was my initial purpose in baiting paddies. It was to show you that these unconventional places are breeding grounds for this behavior. The most recent time I baited paddies, it was with the intent of actually getting people arrested. I was so sick of running into these criminals who were not being put to justice, and the most recent time it was way, way worse than I ever imagined. I went deeper and further than I could have ever wanted to go. And having done that, I really want to discourage people from doing what I did. I have no intention of ever baiting paddies again. I'm sure I've said that before, but I now genuinely think it's not a good idea and it's a total waste of time. The first reason is that there is a scary amount of stuff that adults can get away with when interacting with children online. I'm not going to tell you the specifics of what's federally legal or not, because local law is hugely dependent. The American FBI works differently than the UK government and the European Union and other places in the world. And state laws can vary. I live in California. We have a lot stricter laws than other states, and we have, my understanding is we have a pretty hard line at 18 under most circumstances. And, however, I'm not going to specify what exactly you can and can't get away with, because I would rather you guys mess around and find out yourself, go too far, and end up getting arrested. Unfortunately, a lot of the people that I ran into likely have been arrested before or have had, have been searched, have had charges brought against them in the past, and now they're, they got a slap on the wrist. They got 6 weeks, they got 6 months, they're free now, and they're continuing to do what they're doing. And they know the system well enough to know what they can get away with. And again, there is a lot you can get away with to the point that a lot of people might be satisfied with just that. So that's the first reason. Most likely, if you're gonna pretend to be an online vigilante to or if you're going to be an online vigilante and pretend to be a child online, and you run into these adults, and you know, things happen between you and these adults, ultimately, if you report them to the police, nothing is going to happen. I'm going to be totally honest. Everybody I've mentioned in my videos thus far has not been arrested. I know that's not the happy ending people wanted. Like, oh, this is a really sick, disgusting, twisted person. What happened to them? Nothing. Nothing happened. I brought them to law enforcement, they went into some system, but none of them are going to be arrested. They're not going to be pursued. They're not going to be searched. Even a search warrant, it might not look probable enough that they would want to do that. So most likely you're just going to be wasting your time, and you're going to be interacting with really sick, sordid, disturbing individuals who are just going to wander free. And now you know, oh, okay, Jeremy is chatting with new little boys every single day. Good to know. And he's not going to get arrested, because we will talk about him at the end of this video. This is going to be kind of my part 2 to Quora. I don't know if anyone was looking or hoping for my part 2 to my Quora video that I posted a year ago. I posted it a year ago at this point. I'm not going to actually make a visually appealing part 2, because there's nothing. It's just chats. I'm going to talk about these men, and then, that'll be the end of the video. The second reason that I discourage anyone from baiting predators is because of entrapment. Entrapment is when charges can be brought against you as an adult who looks like they are trying to trap another adult into grooming a child. And it can be things like, here's the thing. Teenagers have hormones, and they're usually very, very insecure. And teenagers develop crushes on adults sometimes. And they might develop a crush on an adult online. They might proposition an adult for a sexual role play. They might offer to send this adult inappropriate photos. They might ask the adult for inappropriate photos. That does not mean these children are starting it or asking for it. These children are victims, and any adult. First of all, adults should just not be chatting with much younger children online. But second of all, if a younger child online that you maybe feel kind of bad for, they're very insecure and they have a troubled home life, and you want to give them some validation, and they start flirting with you, you block. Because that is a lawsuit waiting to happen. You're about to be charged with a felony, buddy. So the thing is, children often bring up things or instigate inappropriate talks. If you are baiting predators, you can't do that. Otherwise, it falls under entrapment. You can't ask for photos. You can't offer to share photos to the predator. You can't even bring up sexual topics. You can't even make sexual games or sexual innuendos. It has to all come from the predator you're talking to. And I don't know if anybody else has watched those videos of mostly just guys going on Discord, pretending to be little girls to troll older men, and then maybe they file a police report afterwards. Normally, it's these guys pretending to be young girls who are propositioning these older guys to quite literally trap these men into having a sexual role play with a child. But the thing is, these people are not going to be charged because of entrapment, because these adults might look like they are trapping an innocent adult who doesn't know any better. Excuse me. You have to be very, very careful when posing as a child online and bringing adults to you that you're not entrapping them, because as soon as it looks like entrapment, the charges are going to be dropped and that predator is going to wander free and probably groom an actual child. So entrapment and, the fact that predators can get away with a lot, those are reasons to not do this. I think those are pretty good reasons. It's just kind of useless, and the police often won't do anything. Okay, so here's the thing. You do not have an FBI agent watching your computer screen. I know no one actually thinks that they do, but it's kind of a meme like, oh, your FBI agent is watching your screen. Oh, the police are watching you. Oh, I don't want people to check my search history. Speaking of freedom of thought. Sorry, I will talk about the other thing in a second. Freedom of thought. Why is it legal for these men, it's mostly men, let's be real. Why is it legal for these men to do what they do? And that is because, especially in the U.S., the U.S. really does not want to police people's freedom of thought. There is a website on the internet called boychat.net. I think it's boychat.com. I don't remember if it's a .net or .com. It is on the clear web. I've looked at it. You can look at it too. You're not going to be arrested. It's legal. It's on the clear net. You don't need Tor browser. It's not on the dark web. There are no photos. And it is grown men describing their fantasies of what they want to do with little boys. Some of these websites have drawn animations. But yeah. But Boy Chat in particular, I don't know how I found out about it. I think, I was doing some research on, it was a video I made a while ago about some guy who was doing like a foundation meant to protect child abuse survivors, but he was actually just masquerading it as a pedo apologist organization. And he used Boy Chat. The thing is, again, as I was saying, there is a lot that paddies can get away with because the US government really doesn't want to be the thought police. Now, I think, yeah, sure, there are some people born or who develop these horrible desires to groom children because they're attracted to underage bodies, or they get off to the thrill of corrupting innocence, or they like hurting somebody physically smaller and weaker than them. There are sick people in this world. And if you haven't done anything, you technically don't need to be arrested. I personally think that if you have these desires, the humane thing to do is to chemically castrate yourself. I wouldn't have any respect for you if you didn't do that. Obviously. I don't even know why we're talking about this. This is ridiculous. What I don't think you should do is make an online diary or make a video or a YouTube channel defending your feelings and being like, it's okay for people to have these feelings. I'm not acting on them. And actually, some of the things that you might think are actually bad, actually they're not too bad, and it's okay in this situation, and women can't actually do this. And actually, if you do this to a kid, it's actually not that bad. Crazy stuff, and all of it is legal. And I don't think it should be, but I don't think the government is anywhere near making laws preventing paddies from doing what they do. So here's what's really important. This is where parents really need to get involved. Again, you don't have an FBI agent watching your computer screen. Nobody is documenting everything you search up every day. If you think one keyword you looked up looks a little fishy, it's not going to be, your search history is not going to come back to bite you in the butt. And the scary thing for parents is when their children are going on social media and parents want to be a bit more hands-off, or they just don't know how social media works, or they don't know what their kids are doing, it's kind of the parents' job to be parents. Because the FBI and the police cannot monitor every grown man flirting with every kid online. At some point, you as a parent just have to make the communication lines very open between you and your child, so that when your child is like, oh, hey mom, my friend Erica online asked me to show her pictures of my feet. Isn't that funny? And then you can be like, oh, okay, I don't think your friend Erica is actually a girl your age. I think that this is a predator, and it's really important not to share photos of our bodies with people online and to immediately block anyone who asks for photos of your body. Because that is not something a kid your age is asking you to do. It's really important as parents, because, as parents, you have your own kids that you can monitor. That's a much smaller group than all the predators in the world that the FBI and police supposedly need to monitor. And the thing is, as more and more boys come of age and get onto the internet, we're going to have a bigger problem. We're having a bigger problem. There are more and more predators online. There are more paddies than ever before as older men are getting access to the internet and young men are turning 18. One of the paddies I interacted with who thought I was a 13-year-old boy was an 18-year-old man. And 18 is a funny age, in some circumstances we would say somebody in their 40s is grooming an 18-year-old, and then on the other hand, an 18-year-old is grooming a 13-year-old. And the one I was talking to was grooming a 13-year-old. And it starts very early. Like, as soon as you have maybe a 17-year-old who's like, oh, this 9-year-old kid isn't too young and it's okay because I'm not 18 yet. That's a paddy. I don't care. I don't care if they're under 18. They want to go after a 9-year-old at 17. And yes, it is disturbing, but it is true that some of these kids who are getting groomed online are like 7, 8, and 9. I think a lot of people who pedobait like to go for ages like maybe 12 or 13. They think that's disturbing. And it is very disturbing. It's very young. Like, what on earth could you possibly see in a 12-year-old? Like, maybe you'd confuse a 16 or 17-year-old for an adult, but a 12-year-old, how do you mistake a 12-year-old adolescent for... No, it's happening to like 7 and 8-year-olds. How are 7 and 8-year-olds getting an iPad? That's a good question. That's a really, really good question. I don't know. But again, this is where parents need to be proactive. Number one, probably don't give your kid an iPad. Number two, make sure that your kid with an iPad can't download apps on their own or really access the internet without your supervision or your guidance. So yeah, that's basically the message I had to say. It is pointless to bait paddies. And I just want to be clear. I baited paddies, and people told me not to, and I don't think they understood the full extent of why you actually shouldn't. But I'm here to say, I'm not judging anybody who wants to do that. There are a couple accounts in particular on YouTube that I can think of who bait paddies and seem to collaborate with local law enforcement, and I think that over time they have spent years figuring out what works and doesn't work, but ultimately a lot of the things that like the mainstream pedobaiters on YouTube are doing, it's not going to do anything. Every one of the men that they find is going to go free. And it's sick and disturbing, but it's the truth. Again, no shame for anybody who wanted to do this, who wants to take the matters into their own hands and pursue justice when law enforcement won't. But I just want to say, it's a noble effort, but it's really, really only going to hurt you. You're just going to find out that these horrible people exist who are never going to get arrested, and that sucks. Okay, so now that I got that out of the way, for part 2 of this video, I wanted to talk about basically my experience baiting pedos on Quora. So, because none of these people are going to get arrested, I'm not going to bother to censor their names. Most of them I don't actually know their names. I won't be sharing their phone numbers or anything, but some of them I do have their phone numbers saved, and law enforcement does have access to them. Again, nothing's really going to happen, so I don't care about sharing their names or not. The first guy I want to talk about is Rob. Rob is one of the first guys I started talking to. I don't know his real name, but I chatted with him on Quora, and then we moved to Discord. Rob, as I mentioned, he was 18, so I was 20 at the time, and he was 18. He was literally a patty younger than me. He was the one propositioning me. He offered to share some photos with me. It was the first time actually any guy, interestingly enough, being a 13-year-old boy, was the first time that any guy actually offered to send me stuff. And I said yes, and, just to gather evidence. It's not that I wished I hadn't said yes, it's just that I didn't like what I saw. He sent me a video of how he managed that engine that he wielded. He liked role-playing a bit, talking about, oh, I wish you were here so we could cuddle, blah, blah, blah. But that was about it, and, I tried to get him to show me his face or give me his number, but he wasn't comfortable doing that. Again, he's 18. He's not an idiot. He knows what he's doing is wrong. And even if he doesn't think what he's doing is wrong, like, here's the thing. He's 18. I wouldn't be surprised if he's been doing this since he was 15 or 16 and has had, like, older men talking to him, too. I think this is a former victim who is now turning into a perp. So that was Rob. It kind of dwindled out. Again, all he wanted to do was really roleplay. Let's see, another guy. Don't know which order I'm going in. The next guy we can go with is, Jeremy. Wait, no. I'm gonna save Jeremy. Oh my goodness, Jeremy. Ugh. Okay. Next guy is Lou. Again, don't know his actual name. This was the only guy I talked to who was from the UK. He is 26 years old. We chatted on Quora, and then we moved to Session. Session is a messaging app that encrypts your data. It's also very, very slow, because it kind of sends your messages to different servers over the world to scramble your data before sending it to the actual recipient. It notifies the other person if you took screenshots of the chat. So it's meant to be secure, but, fortunately for me, I have a second device, so I can take photos of screens and chats if I want to. Lou was probably the most tolerable out of everybody. I mean, he still sent me nudes. And they were still terrible. Holy cow. He actually sent me like one unsolicited one. Most of them were solicited, like, hey, do you want to see what I'm doing? He was always letting me know when he was engaging himself in solitary adult activities, and he would do it like twice a day and then let me know when he was doing it, and eventually he worked up the courage to be like, you want to see? And I was like, okay. But again, out of everyone, he was probably the most tolerable to talk to because he actually had a personality and hobbies, and I was in a I shouldn't be oversharing, but I'm gonna overshare because I don't care anymore. This was like a year ago. I was in a pretty dark place at that point, and I began getting a little bit emotionally attached to him because he was again very good at being emotionally manipulative and came across as really nice and unassuming. He was hilarious because he was like, you're 13, I shouldn't be talking to you, I'm 26. And I was like, yo, I don't care. Like, I don't care about age as long as you're asking for consent. And he was like, yeah, okay. And then he was like, oh, like, be careful on Quora, there are lots of creeps. And I was like, yeah, don't worry, I'm careful, said the 13-year-old receiving nudes from the 26-year-old. Again, nothing else happened with Lou. He just wanted to chat. He didn't even fantasize too much about doing things with me. He just repeatedly told me I was hot and sent me photos of his cock. The next person, Jeremy. Okay, Jeremy, I actually did manage to get his phone number. Jeremy is probably one of the worst human beings I've ever had the displeasure of chatting with in my life. Just hands down worst human being ever. So he messaged me on Quora. I think he asked if I was into daddies or something. And, I was like, I don't know, I guess so. He told me that he chatted with multiple children a day. He lives in Michigan. He works at Verizon. I think he works the night shift. He would send me nude photos from the bathroom at his work. One time he sent me a photo of a nearby children's baseball dugout that he had violated because he can. One time he showed me a photo of how excited he was getting at work, like behind his desk. Imagine this guy being your coworker. You just know this guy reeks and you're like, he does not seem like good news. Like, someone should check his hard drive. Oh yeah, someone should check his hard drive. He would chat with me pretty regularly. He would he was 40, by the way. I mean, not that that's necessary, but he was 40. He sent me a photo of what he looked like. His face was hardly better looking than the other images that he sent me. And when he would send me those photos, he clearly had some kind of folder on his phone for specifically photos of his engine, let's just call it. And he would send me like 10 photos at once. I don't know how I did it. I don't know how I tolerated it. Again, just gathering evidence. He would roleplay with me a lot. He told me this story about how he basically raped a 13-year-old boy in the bathroom, and then he was like, haha, just kidding. Okay. He told me about this 20-year-old woman, so, someone like me that he didn't know of. He told me about this 20-year-old woman that he had been grooming since she was 14 and hoped to make her his wife, and then he was like, oh, but she seems a little shy. Jeremy was one of those people that I was genuinely worried about him actually doing something in person. He seemed very close to doing something in person. I don't know his actual name. I'm not sure if his name was actually Jeremy, but again, I do know that he lives somewhere in Michigan, works at Verizon. I think he still lives with his parents and his 34-year-old younger brother, who just plays video games all day. I mean, what else would you expect? Okay, that was Jeremy. What happened with him? Oh yeah, okay. I kept begging him to send me his phone number because I was like, okay, all I need. Okay, here's the thing. Well, I would ask for phone numbers and try to find out where these people lived. When the police would ask me to describe these perpetrators to them, they would always ask you, do you know this individual's name, location, and phone number? The police are really busy. There are not enough people working in the online crime department to go after 10 different men and find their phone numbers, even though it's something they could easily do. So I, out of the sheer goodness of my heart, would go and get these phone numbers for them and find out where they lived for them, do their job for them. Fine. Well, anyways, I shared Jeremy's information with some people, and that's Jeremy. That's Jeremy. Again, I got his number. He texted me on his number. I sent him my number. I sent him a number, at least, and he texted me on it. So that was Jeremy. Okay, the next person was this guy, Seth David Gates. He lives in Taylorsville, Indiana, I believe. I actually found out his full name. No, he told me his he told me his name. His account on Quora when I met him was bisexual pedophile, and then he changed it to bisexual pervert. For a time, he made his profile picture his own engine. He bragged about how big his engine was, and then sent me photos as proof. He was just like, "Oh, you want to see it?" I was like, "Okay." "And you want to see it at a different angle?" "Okay." "You want to see my butt?" "Okay." He encouraged me as a 13-year-old to get on Grindr and experiment. He talked about things he wanted to do to me. He was 30. If you check out my song, 30-Year-Old White Guy on Spotify and Apple Music, it's about him. It's about him. I think I mentioned he lived in New Jersey, but I don't think he lives in New Jersey anymore. I think that was on his white pages or something. I don't quite remember. Seth David Gates also sent me a photo of him doing things to an individual we couldn't see. We could only see the individual's engine, but we couldn't actually see the individual. But the implication was that it was a young guy, but it was an ambiguous age, so we don't actually know his age. Again, I'm sharing Seth David Gates' name because I don't think he's gonna be arrested anytime soon. So I don't care. You guys can make the report if you want. Was there anybody else? Those were the last people I talked to on Quora before basically abandoning my account. Those are the experiences I had. They did kind of just get increasingly worse and worse. It's really disturbing how, number one, brazen some of these men are when sharing their fantasies with you, and B, the fact that a lot of them are just not going to be arrested. I don't, again, like, this is not the happy ending you guys were hoping for. I'm sorry, but that's the problem with vigilantes baiting paddies online. There are no happy endings. It's just full of misery and despair, so I highly discourage people from doing it themselves. This was definitely an interesting opportunity for me. It, threw some opportunities my way, which is pretty cool. But as for this, I don't regret doing it. I'm just up, and I've accepted it now. It was hard at first, but just knowing that people like Jeremy and Seth, and even Lou and Rob are gonna get away with it, especially Jeremy. I dedicated my song VSM on Spotify and Apple Music to... Actually, I'm not gonna say, because then I might make some allegations against myself. But anyways, my album, The Stripes on My Neck, no, Legs Belong on Your Neck, that's about my experience chatting with older men who thought I was a 13-year-old boy on Quora. Oh, okay, before you guys go, again, this is not very organized, sorry, this is kind of like a podcast where you're actually watching my face talk. Okay, this is so stupid. So I'm not going to say who, but some professionals, or some people with badges, let's just say. Some people with badges that I was chatting with, they told me that there's a risk of too many people pretending to be little boys in this kind of group, is the court will accuse them of targeting the gay community. And that pisses me off. Because first of all, as somebody who's not entirely straight myself, I think it's so stupid that the label gay can keep you safe from accountability. I mean, literally in the 80s and 90s, there was this horrible organization called NAMBLA. You can look it up yourself, NAMBLA. And it was an organization of paddies who tried to connect to the gay community and attach themselves to the gay community to have their orientation respected, and to be like, oh, hey, violating kids is actually not wrong, it's perfectly natural, and yada, yada, yada. Again, it pisses me off because the pro-paddy organizations have attached themselves to the gay community so many times, and the problem is that, these are accounts of little boys just existing, and these men are going after them. I mean, it only looks like you're targeting the gay community because there are very, very, very few female child sex offenders. I mean, that's not women's fault, and it's also not the gay community's fault that so many men are just disgusting and don't care about age of consent or like going under the age of consent. So again, it's just this really stupid thing that court thinks about, like, oh, we can't have too many little boys, we gotta pretend to be more little girls too, because this only happens to little girls. Boys are actually a stronger target because schools and parents tell younger girls so much how important it is to protect their bodies online. And I think a lot more comments on social media are vocal about little girls dressing up and being pimped out on these family vlog channels. Again, like with parents needing to protect their children because law enforcement is not going to protect your children for you. Family vloggers, most of them know what's going on. They pay attention to their comments. Family vlogging is unethical, especially showing your children's face, documenting your children anyway. And why the heck are you showing a cute moment of your kid in just their diaper? Oh, it's weird if you find it sexual. No, it doesn't matter. There are people finding it sexual, and that's why you need to protect your child from the wild, wild west of the internet, because no one is going to protect your kids but you. But again, it just pisses me off that targeting the gay community factors into entrapment. Like, you can't just go after gay people or something. So yeah, that is my takeaway from my most recent experience baiting paddies on Quora, and my tips for both possible future vigilantes and future parents or current parents, that online vigilantes need to be way less active. Parents need to be way more active. And if you're a vigilante, you should just become a parent. Just kidding. Don't do that. But yeah. Hope you found this video informative and you were able to follow it at least a little bit. It was obviously very impromptu, but it's really important to me that this message gets out.